What's up? What's up? We back. We back. We back. Sorry, guys. I would have liked to have just ran right into it and not had to end it or it not ended itself. You know, man. Why y'all start shit? What you mean, Blus? This is the shit I'm talking about, you guys. This is the shit I'm talking about right here, man. Damn. Y'all see some shit that I don't even fucking know is going on. Like, y'all be seeing shit that's not even real sometimes. It's wild, bro. I mean, I love you, bro. But, yeah. Shit, man. That's yeah. You see what I'm saying? This is what starts weird shit. And no disrespect to you, bro, for saying that. But trust me, there's some fools out here that will run with weird shit like that and fucking go and like this fool yesterday, bro. This straight fool yesterday wanted to start some like nonsense, bro. Like over it's just yeah. I'm just saying, like, yeah, don't even get me started. Just don't get me started. Don't get me started, man. Um, that's all I'm gonna say about that. It's just wild, man. Shit. You're overworking? Shit. Oh, man. You know what, man? I feel like no matter who it is, some people out there have been fucking busting their ass. Like her. You know? People that are out there literally busting their ass, man, trying to be in a market that's good, trying to be in Florida, trying to fucking do the right thing, having to deal with. I respect that. It's a respect thing. At minimum, it's a respect thing, and it's also a friendship thing. So all right, we got in-house in here. Let's fucking go. I'm gonna put that back up. Let me type this out. Hold on. Is anybody in here? Hey, NC, can you type that out, bro? Would you mind, NC, since you're the one in here that I could call my brother, and just type out, hit the little question box for all, the thing that we type out? Because if I type it out, dude, last time I fucking deleted it, and it was just a pain in the ass. All right, let me get in-house in here. Where the fuck is the button? There it is. Man, let's do it the right way, NC. What the hell, bro? You're right. I mean, I'll pin it for a second, man, but it's not what I wanted exactly, bro. All right, here we
Yeah.
go. Where you at? You in the
Oh,
you in
I'm
the
out
car?
on the coast. Out on the coast of Washington, so like the service is spotty. So if it cuts out, I'll just drive down the road.
All right, got you. All right, cool.
But it looks
All right,
like I got full bars, but I don't have the 5G.
all right. Well, hey, I can see you. I can hear you. We good to go.
I
So,
can see and I can hear
I
you.
mean,
What's going down?
uh, had a good conversation with Kind of Queen. I think you caught a little bit of the end
I
of
did.
it. You know, we talked a little bit about the Florida market. Touched on DeSantos and his whole anti-cannabis campaign. Basically, heard him the other day talking about we don't want this state to smell like cannabis. I'm never gonna sign that. All that came up a little bit.
Well,
We did talk about.
correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
that bill that bill is disastrous for the for home growers anyway, isn't it?
I think that there's no home grow on there. I think it's just for Rick. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're correct 100%.
Yeah. So
I think there's
it's
no
like
right. Yeah.
yeah, the reason why I bring that up is so they want to kill. So DeSantis wants to kill that bill. It doesn't serve the home growers'
Mhm.
interests. So this would be one of the rare times where you would support that, right? Because then they got to go back and they got to rewrite it.
Right.
And if you like home growers show that they have a profound support for the next bill that includes them, that would detract from say like a DeSantis or that group to try to they're going to try to stop it again, but they'll have more people on their side because right now
Right.
the only people they have on their side is the recreational, the big business essentially because Florida is a monopoly, but
That's it.
there's a few other people that know quite a bit more about Florida, but from my understanding, the existing bill that's that's up right now has no home grow,
No, it does not.
strictly based around the monopoly. It just drinks in the monopoly that's already there. So that's where I say is like sometimes, when you, because when we live in this society where it's like you got to be completely against somebody, but if they're right on a topic, you go, oh, you know what, I can support you on that particular topic. I can get behind you on that particular issue. I don't have to co-sign for everything you do or everything you are after that. But that's what I'm saying is I think we just get into this rut where as soon as like DeSantis is a piece of shit, we all know that, right? As backwards thinking in a lot of ways, but
Right.
also too on the flip side of that, some of the stuff that he does make sense, right? So it's like, yeah, okay, I disagree with you on a bunch of this stuff, but I agree with you on this, and that's how it kind of should be anyway, right? Because not everybody's going to agree 100% of the time,
Yeah, I agree 100%. The only thing that I had the issue with him was when he came out like 3 days ago and said, I will never pass that because I don't want our state to smell like marijuana.
Yeah.
I will never. So, I mean, I don't know, if somebody else would be any different. I'm not saying they
Well,
would, but that's a hard one right there to be able to be on board with that when he's letting you know no matter what, he's never going to pass it. If you vote for him
well,
again, you know.
he doesn't. So what it is sometimes they are forced to because it's the will of the people, right? So if say for instance, like here in Washington, it wasn't Washington is democratically controlled and has been for a while, but it wasn't the Democrats that brought the issue up for legalized cannabis or cannabis in general. It was a ballot measure, right? So a
Right.
lot of this stuff is done through ballot measuring, right? So as an example, you could get signatures and put it on the ballot to be, oh, I can home grow with 12 plants, 25 plants, and you could get signatures for that. Then you're taking that ballot. Then it's like if the say the governor vetoes
Mhm.
that, right? That's a
Right.
big, huge. That's going against the will of the people. That could cost an election because what a lot of people don't understand is DeSantis barely won the governorship in Florida, right? It was a couple other people, including Trump, and stepping in to push him over the line. But my main point is, so we don't get lost in the details, and people just take a small segment of what's said. Is sometimes people you disagree with make sense on a topic, and you should back them up on that particular subject,
Hmm.
right? So that's what working together is. But we get into this rut where you got to be against that person because they're Democrat or they're Republican or they're an independent or
Hmm.
whatever. But it's like you got to find common ground. It's just like you and I. We're totally two different people, right?
Yep.
And so, here's a prime example. It's like in the comment section, right? They said 502, which was the ballot here in
Hmm.
Washington, indeed did fuck home growers. It screwed over the medical program and home growers, right? But it doesn't change. Like we could write a ballot initiative, right? We could really pressure, through writing bills and all that stuff to get some of those rights back. We just haven't formed enough group or opposition in order to do that. So it's like anything. It's politicking 101, and politics is just as much involved in the cannabis space as anything because that's the only way you're going to be able to get the things done that's going to benefit you and your fellow grower and your fellow person across the board. But one thing that we do in this industry in itself in this community, what I'm starting to see is a lot of people agreeing to disagree, working on things that they can all work on, and then aside from that, start kind of can be at odds with each other in many spaces. I get DMs. I've had people say, I absolutely fucking hate you as a person, your existence, but what you say does make sense, right? And look, I'm fine with that,
Exactly.
right? Like
Yeah.
I'm completely fine with that because if something I do or something that I say inspires you or gets you thinking like, oh, hey, I can do this or we can do this and all that, then that's a win across the board. You don't have to like me. That's the beauty of it, right? We're not all friends here, right? But what we are though is we're a community that's doing, relatively the same set of things and bettering ourselves. And all the while, it's very therapeutic, you know. So like, but yeah, that's where I think we do get a miss from time to time. Is a broken clock is twice or is good is on time once a day, right?
Twice a day, right? Twice a day.
Well, if it's an old analog clock,
That's the
right?
old, yeah, that's the old adage, right?
I wonder how
Twice
many
a, yeah.
people can still look at a clock and read it, right? So if the little hand is at the 9 and the big hand is at
At
just
the
a little bit past the 6, is that 9:30? What? You know? But
Oh
but
shit.
um but yeah, I mean, like, even like I caught a bit of the conversation before, and that's where I think that
Hmm.
a lot of this conversation that we had last week, right? Is the messages that I was getting and the engagement and all that stuff has been really cool to see, because I think people are now we're kind of starting to see the light. We're starting to see the aspect of we're really getting shit on as a group and as a whole. Really good points for Schedule 3 and opposition to Schedule 3. So a lot of these folks were making, which what I really liked was it was second guessing my assessment of it, and so you when you see that you second guess your assessment, you go, oh, okay, oh no, actually yes, I was correct on that, or I need to shift in my logic just a little bit or completely,
Yeah, I mean, I've, even my conversation with her, but it seems like most people are starting to understand the reality is what this could turn into. And I understand the people that don't really. It's like like her and I were talking about. Like it does. It sounds good. It sounds good that it's going to change. It's not going to be in the same one with heroin and these other things, but then it's going to be the same as where codeine is. So or other prescription drugs. So I think once you start to like understand the reality of what could happen, I think that people start to feel a little bit differently about it and not feel so positive about it.
Well,
That's what seems.
it's also too, you have you have a new different set of rules. So prior to this, like, one of the things that gets brought up pretty often, that is a really good point. They go, well, it was on a scheduled 1, which is the worst, right? Now it's a
Yeah.
schedule 3. What's going to change on the state level? Well, it could go either way, because on the state on the because you have the Cole memo, and they're going off a lot of the previous traction that was done under schedule 1. So but the states also laid ground cover for that. But if with the schedule 3, that opens up major influence for the pharmaceutical industry, right? And on every state level, you have pharmaceutical industry influence from lobbyists and everything else. So as a prime example, we had an opportunity in this country to lower drug prices, and that was re-importing them from Canada. These are the same prescription drugs that are here are also in Canada, but also Canada has a bit more stringent safety protocols, right? Now, the Democrats, they controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House at the time. Obama was in office, and they voted it down. They made it so you couldn't re-import the bills. And so I can speak on Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell, which is the representatives of Washington, with their comments where we have safety concerns about the drugs being re-imported from Canada, even though they're the exact same drugs. But when you look at where they're getting their money from and who's paying them, it's heavily pharmaceutical and mental health issue or mental health money, right? So now you can see where that's coming from. As an example, a leading person is Cory Booker, right? Cory Booker on the cannabis front. But when you look at where Cory Booker gets his money in order for him to get elected, that's who he's going to side with, and that's heavily in the pharmaceutical lobby, right? Prescription drugs. But my main point is what I'm getting at is they could step in on a state level and go, okay, we're going to consolidate this. We're going to give this to a couple of people, and then what we give you is what you can't complain, because this is the only thing that you're going to be able to get. That's why we only have a couple of phone companies. That's why we only have a couple of cable companies. That's
Right.
why when you walk into a grocery store, you have fucking thousands of brands, but there's only 7 companies that really truly own all of it.
Right.
We have, when you eat your steak or a hamburger, chances are it came from one company, maybe the smaller second one. So we have this tenacity in the United States to accept and what they give us, and allow all of our industries to be monopolized. So there's like when when you start looking at history and then you look at what could be in the future, right? You can see uh, you can see that it's going to be a problem, or that there's many problems that can happen, So, but that's where being vigilant, talking about it, getting pissed off about it, and organizing. So, like we were talking about last
Mm-hmm.
week, we're going to start doing some really cool projects. You and I have been talking off of these live,
Mm-hmm.
talking about like home grower emphasis, and to kind of taking your guys' suggestions and ideas and implementing them, seeing what you guys would like to see more of, start leaning in that direction. And so that way people begin to really get set and settled into this community, because now we're all a part of it, and everybody's within reach of talking and discussing and having conversations, and also too having these hard ass conversations. These are conversations that we don't necessarily want to have, but you ultimately got to have them. And by doing that, that brightens our future. That's going to brighten everything as a whole as we move forward.
Yeah, I think these conversations are necessary. I really do, especially now. Like this is, they are necessary conversations to have when there's 100 people in there. I feel like you guys, listen, I would just want to point out, you guys could ask all the questions you want. If you guys have any questions at all, and I feel like you guys must, there's no questions yet. Hit that little question box
Nope.
down there, and that's why we're here.
But I
Ask some
kind of
questions.
want to, if you don't mind, I kind of want to take some time and throw this a few ideas out for people. So we got Oski, she's in here. But we're going to and then there's a $5, which is out of Oklahoma. We've touched on it a little bit. We got Dark Star, we got Tino, we got a handful of these people that are we're going to kind of put this coalition of folks together to kind of create these spaces for home growers and people that are growing, not just in the United States but Canada, around the obviously around the world, and start getting more hyper focused on some of these groups that are hyper focused on particular situations. And so combination of where we can do outlets for testing, additional hunting, setting up eventual probably seed and clone exchange, that type of stuff. So that way it keeps people engaged and keeps them continuing to grow. And that way, if they run into a dark spot, or if they run into a hard problem, there's a community there to help them get through it, or give them suggestions on how to get through it. And we all encounter them. We're not all, we all make mistakes. We've all fallen on our face, but it's a matter of getting back up. And it doesn't hurt to have people that got your back to help you, to help bring you back up. So that's where I think. That bringing these folks together, that we're going to be able to accomplish in numbers on a scale where we're going to actually be able to create a big, huge, much larger, tighter knit community. And so we've done some projects in the past where we've seen that this works, and where we bring a bunch of people together, and what those folks do is they start creating their own groups, and then they branch out and they evolve, and then they have to do something. But it's really what we're trying to do is we're trying to inspire as many people as possible, and also let people recognize that what you do is a massive, great thing on such a large scale that we're not going to realize how big of a scale and how important this time in it right now until we look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So it's like we are truly in a pivotal moment. We are in the middle of history. We could lose our rights on cannabis, or we can fight and gain our rights. We get into this thing where we get in these little battles, or people don't like for instance, there's this. Nobody likes people protesting. Like, this country's built off of protesting. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of protests that I see that I may not agree with, but I'm glad that they can protest, right? Because that is a right that a lot of people don't have. And that's where I think where the mistake is you don't necessarily need a counter protest to every protest. You know what I mean? Right? So, like, for instance, if people are out there protesting, let them protest. That's their right. They got free speech. There's laws that cover hate speech. There's laws that cover violence. There's laws that cover all this stuff, right? But you should always support people for the just downright to be able to protest. And I think that, at some point we are going to have to, move into protesting. We're going to have to move into mobilizing. We're going to have to move into pressure on these folks to make the right decisions. And what they'll do is they'll demonize me, they'll demonize you, they'll demonize these people, but it's about the resolve and the backing that you got and the support that you got to help push these through, right? And so that's why I think if we get in this, continue down this trend where just because you don't agree with something, it's got to go away or it can't be there. That's just a bad way to think. So, like as an example, you see people protest and they have these marches. You don't have to go down there and support them. You don't even have to even acknowledge them, but you do need to respect the fact that they can protest, because we've literally fought wars in the past so we could do this,
Right.
but it's but what happens is if you put any sort of pressure on the government to do the right thing, they push back, and they push back super hard.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we live in America, and this, the protests that are going on right now is secondary to what really the whole thing is, because we need to protest what's going on with um, rescheduling and show up and come together as a community to be able to let them know that what they're doing is not what we want.
So
We
let's
should.
be I need to make it very clear because the chat's kind of going both ways. I'm
Yep.
talking about protesting in particular. I'm not touching on what we're currently going on right now. I'm talking
Right.
about just in general
In general.
that if, like if people are going to protest, right, you don't have to support it, but you got to respect the right for people to protest, even if you don't agree with it. But like I said, it's the reason why I'm even bringing it up is because we're going to start being vocal. People are going to continue to be vocal, and we're going to be censored. We're going to be removed from platforms. We're going to be demonized. That's why it's important for the community. As soon as somebody gets taken down, you go back and find their, follow their page again, or follow them so you can stay connected with them. And we all know social media at a whim, you can wake up and your account can be gone. And if you took years to build it up, it's really hard because it took you so long to build it up. Like for instance, Darkstar, you've gone down a couple of times, but also too, you're at the top of mind of a lot of people. So you can populate pretty
Right.
quick. Not everybody has that necessary luxury, so that by building these groups and having these folks in a community, when somebody's account does go down, they can go, hey, I lost my account. Here's my new account. You guys are familiar with my work and what I do. Then that's the quickest, fastest way to find somebody, because there's people that have fallen off, that disappeared, they come back with a different handle. I don't know who they are, and they go, oh, well, now I'm back. I used to be this, and then it all kind of comes full
Right.
circle and makes sense. And then, but when you lose an account, it's really bad. But that's where I ultimately wanted to be very clear on that fact
Yeah.
is we're talking about, we might have to mobilize. We might have to actually set our differences aside and really push for what we want, and that's home grower rights, the ability to not be scrutinized, and actually be able to grow this plant in peace. You know how many
Man.
messages and posts that you get from people being like, how therapeutic it is after a hard day to come open my tent and I see these beautiful plants, and I got to put in an hour or two of work in, but that isn't necessarily work. That's therapy for them. It'd be the same as if they were to meditate or whatever, and that completes their day or completes their process. So that's why I think that's why we're pretty really passionate about this, because we recognize these really key things, and we want to keep those things together, and expand and build off of them and keep building off of them.
Yeah, the garden is a place of zen. It is, it is that place, and it should, yeah, it should. That's exactly what we need to do, and like you said, the differences that we have, those differences need to be set aside, because the one thing we all do have in common is this plant. That's why all of us are here, and we need to fight for it. We do need to come together and protest, and those things are our rights to do, and we just need to. We need to we need to come together as a community, man, and that's what we're trying to do here. Whether it
And
be what he has coming up with the One World, One Plant to bring you guys together, and give you guys like allow you guys to become part of a group, like you said. I was part of it last time. The groups were the best thing. I still talk to all those people. So, that will be open up to you guys, I'm pretty sure, pretty soon. And I
Well,
know a lot of you guys would like to be involved. So,
I want to mention too that this is we're okay. So now, like having discussions with you, discussions with the people that I named before. There's a couple people that are actually taking the One World One Plant banner and running with it as well too. So we're going to be able to go into these projects with a group of people that are directly involved and directly connected to it. So we'll be able to get a very long reach. That's what I'm actually really excited about. So in addition to the One World One Plant, you guys, we're going to have the 369 project that's kicking off. Those are those wood blocks. Those are going to be very, very limited. But also, too, if you get those wood blocks, hold on to them. Put them in a place where don't throw them away or anything like that, because there'll be something really cool way down the line. So there's going to be little things, little kind of Easter eggs and stuff like that. And we're going to be able to be a little bit more efficient on everything from giveaways to progress to testers to etc. That's what we're all coming together to build. So like Oski's in here right now. I urge you guys to follow her, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to go through her account. We're currently setting up a few other accounts. Darkstar's got some really cool project that he's working on that's going to come to fruition. And I think when, as the months unfold in the coming months and into the summer, a lot of this stuff is going to come full circle. So all you folks that have been tapping in, especially with
mhm.
Darkstar, you're going to see a lot of movement, and you guys are already on board because you're already been in the discussion from the beginning, so we'll try to do our best to keep people caught up in what we're doing and keeping the communication open. But what we're doing is we're trying to create like a basically, and I can't speak for you, Darkstar, but where we're at, a coalition to reach as many people as possible and really show the people that are on the fence of growing to start growing, and that way they get to feel the same therapy and the same feelings that we get when we get to when we get to look at our grow setups and when we're working in our grow rooms, etc. So that's going to be not just liberating, but it's going to be extremely exciting. And one thing that we kept running into was there's there was a hodgepodge of people, right? So Darkstar's working on his thing, right?
Mhm.
Oski's working on one thing, and Tino's working on one thing, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're starting to come together and have conversations as a whole.
Mhm.
So now what we're going, okay, it's like I'll take care of this, and I'll take care of this, and I'll take care of this, and that's how you get the ball really rolling on a much larger scale. And the cool part is we're not kumbaya. We're all tentatively friends. We've all met each other. We all know each other on a personal
Yep.
level. But what we're doing is we're trying to set up something that we're gonna fall, we're gonna trip, but it also too we from what I feel is we can learn from our mistakes, but also too we know how to take input. When we see what you guys put in the comment sections, when you guys send messages with suggestions, we listen to those and we pay attention to those. And like the One World One Plant came from a conversation on a live. It seemed crazy and seemed wild, and we've gone over that story a couple times,
Yep.
but it turned out great. And that got me introduced to a lot of people that I otherwise wouldn't have got to know. Some of these people I know just through Instagram. Some of these people I've been fortunate enough to meet in person. Like I've been able to meet Chad in
Mhm.
person while we were in Michigan,
Yep.
and actually have a conversation. Look, stand across from somebody. There's nothing cooler than being
Yeah.
able to just kind of sit across from somebody and get a
Yeah.
feel, and then when you walk away, be like, oh, they're good people,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much a great thing, and continuing that, because how cool would it be in a year or 2 years from now we throw a big ass party, and a lot of these folks that these 100 folks that are in here, we end up in a destination. I mean, that's kind of grand, but it would be pretty cool to see, pretty cool to do,
Oh,
and that
we're
way.
losing you. Okay, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, can
I
you hear me
lost.
now?
Yeah, I lost you for 1 second. Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, you guys, that it's just what it is we're recognizing that we're able to do a lot of things because it's a two-way street. If you guys are here, we're here. If you guys go away, we go away. And if we've seen that in the past where if people lose support or whatever, they kind of drift off and go wherever. But one thing I can say is the people that are involved in this are very humbled, right? And what I mean by that is like the discussions that they have and the way that they talk, right? It's really really refreshing, because I thought that like train of thought or that logic was kind of lost, and I'm starting to see it, come back and boomerang back. And we're seeing, in the comment sections with Joseph, like cannabis community strong. This
Hmm.
community is a community like no
Like,
other. And that's not even hyperbole.
no,
This community, we've been under constant attack. We've been discounted. We've been treated like shit. We've been treated like criminals. We've been treated. There's so many things that they've been treating us like, but yet we persevere and we keep pushing forward, and we're like, yeah, well, that's your opinion, right? I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinions, right? What's that, the saying, opinions are like assholes, everybody's got
everybody's
one.
got one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of us out here still, a lot of us that have been through it, that are still maybe going through it. And like, some of the community, some like the industry, whatever it is, some of it blows my mind because that's not who we are. And I feel like my whole thing is to bring back it, whether it's gone or not. I'm gonna be here every Wednesday, every Saturday. I'm always gonna be here to listen. You guys, like Brandon said, when you guys comment on a post or DM, we see that. Don't think that like because we're busy. No, we see all that. Like we definitely take everything you guys tell us and maybe we talk about it. Maybe I talk about it with somebody else. We're always trying to make it better for you guys and bring you guys together because I hear so much negativity out there. And me personally, I feel like the community that we built, the 100, the 200 people, whoever, all the people that come through here, you guys are all good people. You guys all see it the way that I see it, man. We care about the plant. And, maybe I'm a little bit older. Maybe I just, I started growing a long time ago, man. I never would stop. So I want the newer generation to realize, like, where, we are like the OGs at this point. We just are. And we're always going to be here to help you guys. And that's what
I
it's
would
about.
say I would say that the age thing is kind of fallen off, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you'd be able that would destroy a community that doesn't necessarily stick to this community in general, right? But yeah, definitely to your point is the the evil kid, even the even keel of everything is like unseen anywhere else, and that's where I think, like with what you're doing, I got mad respect for seeing this, because like with folks like you with the weekly stuff, and then you got ICANN Matt over there pumping out great content, showing people tutorials on how to grow, what to run into. I mean, we could go on and on and on with all these people and how they're really putting great information out, and I just want to try to find a way to start pulling that in together, right? And so that way it's a little bit more kind of centralized, so it's not all spread out, everywhere and all over the place,
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely, man. I mean, what we see, yeah, you're somebody that can actually do it, and that's what I respect, and that's why, man, I would just, there, me personally, nothing but respect for you. Like, for anybody that doesn't know, like you as a human being, as a person, bro, you're just one of those people that like you're just a good person, man. And I feel like that's what it's all like. We we're all attracted to each other, like the positivity, like we all want the same thing. We want to help. We want to do whatever we can to help, and we happen to be in positions where we're able to do that. And not many people are out there that give a shit enough. You're one of them. Tino, he puts in the he goes live. He's willing to ask, no matter what anybody thinks about Tino, Tino gives a shit, man. And that's why I appreciate and respect Tino.
yeah.
There's a
Well,
lot of us out here,
I would say this is like Tino's got people that don't like him. There's always something surrounding Tino, but one thing that I've seen from Tino over the years is him stopping whatever he's doing in a live or anything like that and answering somebody's question about a grow. He's the basically he well, if you hit him up and say, I'm a new grower, good chances that guy's just gonna send you seeds to pop them and get you going, get you set up. He's gonna I've seen him do some really cool stuff, right? And also too, he's built a a community around himself, right? These and I make the joke, I call him rabid fans, but he's got a true like base that is ride or die for him. And there's a like when you start looking at that from a wide angle lens, you realize like he's bringing a bunch of misfits together and making them fit in a world that otherwise they might not feel, in place in other places, right? And so then you have your set of folks, that your particular audience, and there is some crossover, but your audience is coming here because there's a lot of new growers.
Mm-hmm.
They like the content, they like to hear what, like whatever, like a lot of these breeders got to say, like to hear what, say like Brandon's got to say, and Brandon Rust in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have this crossover, there's like almost, it's kind of like the old school networks of thing, right? So if you wanted to, like, say you're like your Jerry Springers, you're going to tune into the Friday night beat downs that
Yeah.
Tino puts on.
Yep.
If you're going to want to know about the genetics and the grow and all that, then you're going to tap into another account, or hit Tino's in particular account, or a Dark Star Live, etc. So that's where I think that looking at those and seeing that what you're doing is you guys are starting to make a path for people, like kind of a roadmap for other folks. So it's not such a thing where it's like you're starting from a cold start, because you can go, oh, I see what Dark Star is doing, I could do that too. And it just doesn't happen overnight. None of this stuff happens overnight.
No.
It's step by step by step by step. And it's a lot of work. Like, as an example, you mentioned earlier, yes, we eat and breathe this. We're constantly working. And I'll get you guys a little tip on the insight on the DMs. If for some reason a DM goes doesn't get returned, send it again. If it's a couple days past, send it again, because the way that the DMs work is there's so much traffic. Sometimes you can get pushed way back and you can't even scroll that far. So it's like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's the thing, is I think a lot of people feel like they're being ignored. It's just there's only so much time in the day to get through a certain amount of DMs and messages. So keep sending them, right? Or like a follow-up, because I know that there's messages where I got like 6 previous messages, and I'll instantly hit them off. Hey, I'm just now seeing this, and it was sent 3 weeks ago, right? Because they sent a follow-up. So that's a little tip that I give you guys is if you don't hear something from any of these folks, and I'm not just talking about us, I'm talking about anybody, just send a follow-up, because they could be looking at their phone right as you send it, who knows, But that's where I think some of the people feel like they get dissed or something like that. But ultimately, there's just so much going on and so much stuff to do, that being able to get folks that are willing to work together, and that in a sense is really cool to see. Because like anytime I've mentioned something to you or brought up something to you, your first thing is like, yeah, let me know what you need from me, right? I'm down 100%.
Yeah.
And that's you when you get that type of response, it's great. The same on this side. When people hit me off with an idea, I instantly, what can I do to help you further your idea? And that's where I think that those type of conversations and that type of attitude, we put that out to the world. That's going to come back. And also too, that's going to inspire other people to do the same.
Yeah. And I can only do so much on my own. And that's why I'm just going to say teamwork, the whole teamwork thing. Like we are better, we talked about this before, but we're stronger together, man. It's hard, I'm my own person. So when someone comes to me like you or whoever, like I want to better the community. That's what it's all about. And if something sounds like it's going to better it, I'm always going to be in, because that's what, for me, that's what it's all about. Like, bringing the community together, new growers, education, and just bettering the community. And when there's people like you and Tino, and I can go down the list. There's a whole lot of them. I am always gonna do whatever I can, like the best of my ability, to make sure whatever needs to be done gets done and gets done the right way. And we could look back, like you said, we might look back at this in a year and know this was the beginning of whatever may happen then, and we can look back and be proud of what we did. So
Well,
those accomplishments.
absolutely. And I want to give a big shout out to Tony's Used Equipment. I talk to him often. We do stuff together. We meet on the road. I want to just take a second and give him a big shout out too, because what he's doing is in a space that's really not nobody really else is doing, you know. But I've been watching his progress and watching him grow as a as an not just as an individual but as a company. That's really cool to see, and that's the same across the board. But you know, with that is like there's so many good people in this space, from the bearded bros, right? Watching Julie really takes the Skunk magazine, and you got a lot of good stuff that's coming from that situation. We lost obviously the big publication, High Times, that kind of went by the wayside and all that. I know from speaking with Julie and the Skunk magazine, they are truly on the organic home grower support tip, and they not only believe that, they feel it in their bones. That is where they're at, you know. And that's really cool to and refreshing to hear, like when you know, you've talked to Julie before, and just the passion that she has and the things that she does and says is a, you know, it's a really passionate person there. And so that's cool to see these things you know, continue to, you know, ultimately come together. And that's why I think, and some of these folks are now starting to reach out and talk to each other, you know. So we exchanged a couple of messages the other day with Julie at Skunk, and we're going to have follow-up conversations. I believe that you're talking to her too. There's just the other constant evolution of conversations, and you guys, the conversations is how things start. That's how things get going, you know. Like another person that just popped in here, Boneyard Genetics, right? If you guys got to follow him, he's another Washington breeder. He really puts in the work, he's really grinds it, and he's coming out with some fucking amazing genetics at the moment too. He's got this hella gas that is just super fire. And so when you see this stuff
Mm-hmm.
and you're watching these people put in the work, it's so cool to see it, and then be able to, you know, and be able to, one, you know, have a, you know, a friendship with them or a connection to them, because you're like, you know, it's like, oh, this, it's really cool to watch your friends win. Really nothing better than watching your friends build.
Exactly. That's my. There's nothing I like more than to seeing these guys do well. Like that's what it's all about. To see Boneyard, and I only know him, you know, I know him a little bit, and he's donated to the Christmas Give Back. Like he's always there. Whenever I'm doing something, he always reaches out, man. Hey, do you need me to, you know, always. So, and then I see, and I'm friends with, you know, I'm friends with Max Shields. We'll call him Third Coast. So it was
Yeah.
cool to see that collab. So if you
Yeah.
guys don't know, you know, the Hella Gas. We actually have that on the site because I do work with, you know, with Chuck, with Max, and that's on the site. So when I see that, when I saw it on the menu, I was like, this is what's up, man. Like it was a really cool thing to see, you know, these guys coming together and seeing their product, like their gear, their work, actually making it onto the site. And you know, it's just there's nothing that
But
I like more, man.
and one
There's
thing,
just not.
like Boneyard. So I met Boneyard, and he's got another friend over there with Lit Genetics, right? There's Chauvinist. There's about a group of about 12 people religiously that go live every day, and they're just chopping it up, having a good time.
Hmm.
They got their own little small little community that's super tight, and when you listen to them and you tap into their lives, you know they all know each other really well. It's like you know, that's a bonus of social media. It gets to tap in a handful of people, and people get to participate whether they're watching it or they're on the screen, etc. But I've been watching that for a few years now, and they've had the same solid group of folks, and they just been, you know, put in work and, you know, growing, testing stuff. They talk not just about their successes, but they also talk about their failures. But it's also too, it's funny listening to them because they still ride each other. They still, you know, there's a camaraderie there. Is like a, you know, like, you know, and you make fun of your friends and shit like that, you know, right? And so when you start seeing that, I'm like, yes, this is the world that I like to be in. This is the situations that
Yeah.
I like to see and be a part of and support, you know. And that's where I think where we're coming is where I think we're beginning to turn around the corner here, but we got a lot more work to do. But I think by just being, you know, being able to interact, like as an example, Boneyard came in, said I was in they were in their normal live, but he's like, I had to come in and tap in for a minute and see what's up, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's where, you know, it's cool because it's like, yeah, I'm going to go see what they're talking about. And then I'm going to go back, I'm going to talk to my folks and this and that. And also too, can't discount that crazy ass comment section, right? Those comments that are coming, right? The way that the people are talking.
Wow.
There's, you know, we've made a joke about last time. There's a whole nother conversation going on in the comment section that's opposite of what the screen is, you
A
know,
hundred
or what's
percent.
going on.
Yeah, like I can't, it's listen, as much as like social, as much as Instagram can be frustrating, annoying, losing our accounts like we talked about earlier, there's that other side of it where it does bring us together. There is that positive side of it. Like, to be able to jump in people like Boneyards, Live or Tino's or mine or yours or whoever, there's a benefit to that and the education. As long as you're on here and you're well, I'm not gonna say you're doing the right thing because everybody's gonna do what they do, but you can pick and choose where you go. You don't have to go in and watch anything. You don't have to hate on anybody. Like, let's lift each other up, show people respect, man, and especially the new growers. I feel like I need to say this often. Don't go on their page and cut them down. Go on their page and help them. That's just like a tip to you guys, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's like it's like one of those things. Like we make fun of each other and throw jabs at each other because you're friends, right? But if you don't know the person,
Hmm.
then it's like you're just being malicious at that point. And also we made the joke about it. If you don't like somebody or you can't say something nice, just unfollow them, right?
Unfollow them.
Just it's a simple unfollow them, or if you don't want to hear from them at all, the block button. Then it goes away forever. But
Yeah.
I've seen that before where like new growers or growers that have got maybe a year or two under their belt and they've fallen down a couple times and they just can't take the additional beat down from people, and it's like, oh
Well,
man, like you see it all the time. But it's like that's why we were giving away the master grower certificates that were made in a special Crayola crayon. We had a couple of different colors. There's a few of them that are out there.
right.
These are prestigious awards that you get for being a master grower. Because there's no, I mean, it's the most absurd thing as a master grower. We all are learning every single day.
That's why I
And
was
just
sort of
when,
laughing.
yeah,
I'm
look,
like,
man, look,
okay.
I remember, let's rewind 15 years ago, 20 years ago. An aphid seemed like a death sentence to a grow,
Right.
right? Now we're like, oh, we can literally wash these things off with Dawn soap and they're no longer a problem, right? But then we had other mites that come along, but even with I think one of the worst ones that ever had to deal with that just wreaked havoc was that damn broad mite. I don't even like to even mention it because it's like Beetlejuice. So, but what it took to solve that problem was a community that was actually conversating in the message boards and the groups and the chats and all that stuff, and that's how it was able to, a lot of people were able to eradicate broad mite. And then right after that phase came, then we all of a sudden had to deal with the russet mite. It's never endings. But the key is never stop growing, never stop learning. And just because there's not a solution yet doesn't mean that you are in particular might create the solution or somebody else is going to figure out a solution and then give you that message back to you, which then you get to enact and it works for you. Then you relay that to the next person that has the same problem as you. So
Yeah.
that's what I get is one of those things where it's like it's better to give somebody advice and them to ignore you than to sit there and just berate them, or you know they already messed up, they're already gonna feel like shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? and
That
and so
exactly, man. Yeah. I mean,
but it's like we see it. I get it too. Like, there's a couple of people out there that have man crushes on me that want to take time out of their day to talk about me, which I think is the weirdest fucking thing. Um, but
yeah.
but
Same,
it's
bro.
just
Same. I'm just saying, same. I've been dealing with this shit lately too, especially, man. It's just wild because if you get to know us, either of us, you're gonna be like, man, I don't know why I was ever like that to this person. They're actually pretty cool. You know,
Yeah.
give us a chance. Come and talk to us. Have a conversation with us. That goes for both of us. Have a conversation with us, man. We're willing to talk to you guys. If you guys don't like us, you know, don't pull the bullshit and report our accounts and all that craziness. Come have a conversation with us, man. I'll pull you in. I know Brandon will pull you in. You know, we're here. We're men. We could
Look,
talk these things out.
you and I
So
have even had a contentious conversation in the past where I was like, if somebody's got something to say, just
I
tag me.
know. I
Right?
know.
If I'm available, I'm gonna pop in.
uh,
Right?
yeah.
I'm gonna see what you want to say, all
I,
that.
I know.
But
I
you know,
know.
but I can tell you if you have the person blocked and then you talk about them, that's like you can't really, you know, like that's not the way to go about it. But either here nor there is one of those things where I think that there's a time and place for everything, right? You know, so in a normal setting and in kind of a setting and situations, you know, you can go ham on people, talk shit, this and that. And then there's actual settings where you got to really get down to the you know to the work and the community aspect and get that hand up to people, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is like that's very important is that you know to emphasize it's not a handout, it's a hand up, right? You know, so that way that person can get in a position and do the exact same, you know, because when you anything in life where you're talking to somebody and they're like, I did this or I did that, I always scares me because you're forgetting about the people that you surrounded yourself in order to make you successful. You know what I mean? Right? You know, and there's a lot of people that you attribute that's been on your journey that has helped you get to where you're going and continue to get to where you're going. And the key is to make sure that you're going in tandem. Not everybody's going to make it, you know, through the whole process. They're going to split off. They're going to fall off. There's a lot of things that's going to come. You got new people coming, etc. You know, but the key is to try to stay level headed. Not just stay level headed, but you got to be able to, you know, be able to handle a lot of things that come, and because everything comes at you so fucking fast and so quick too, you know. But that's where I think growing is growing and watching a plant. I mean, there's not, I mean, think about it this way. I still get, if I got to cut a plant down, it still kind of, there's a little part of me that hurts. 'Cause you're just, you know, whether you're recycling it out or you're harvesting it,
Yeah.
whatnot, you know, so,
Okay, we
you
the
know,
same. We're the same because me too, me too. Like we get a connection with the plant. Like we just have a connection with it. Like I will literally, I have a brother, right? I will call my brother and sometimes be like, "Bro, I just can't. Just can you just chop him down?" Because it's just you know we have a connection with them. We just do. We spend so much time with them, nurturing them, and all that. That point right there. I know some people don't give a shit. It's not. It's nothing. But for me, like I feel that. I do feel that. Yeah.
well, everybody's done this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's done this. You've sowed your seeds. It's only been a no more than an hour or two, and you kind of just take a peek, right? You know, right? Like just a little peek, you know,
Yeah.
right? And then um, and then you have and then you know yeah. So then it starts to sprout, and then it's like when you see that you're like, oh yes, yes, right? You know, so but it's same with the clone, right? When you're going through the clone and you're cutting it up, getting it ready, and so as soon as it starts to root, you know, you get there's a little excitement that you get there, and then you go through this journey with this plant, you
Yeah.
know, and that's where I think that's where a lot of people can find common ground is because technically on the basics and the nuts and bolts of it, we're all doing the same thing, right? You know, but we are at different levels. We have different techniques, right? And we have different ways of getting there, but we ultimately end up at the same result, you know, right? So there's like all this like weaving and back and forth through that stuff, and so that's like a awesome chaos, you know, right? And it's a like a symphony of chaos in a sense, and it's really cool to see, and also too, it's really cool to be a part of, you know, and mad respect for the people that sit here and you know listen and interact with us and all that. That's to me that's still like mind boggling and one of the coolest things in history, you know, that
Yeah.
or you know in the grand scheme of things, you know.
Yeah, man. Definitely. It's an amazing thing. It just is. And you know, people in their garden, like we spoke about earlier, it is a place of zen. It is a hobby. You can get away from everything and just be in your own space. There's you know, there's something beautiful about your garden. There just is.
Can I
Um,
ask you a question?
yeah.
So we've talked about you, and then you've built this great following. You got a lot of interaction with people. You're taking steps to expand and do more and get and reach more people. Um, what is something that actually, from being in the community, interacting for the past number of years, what is something that excites you? Something that, like, you think that it'll never fall short on. And what I mean by that is it'll never get old. Is it somebody sending you a really cool story, or I mean, what's something that you'll always be excited for, you know?
Okay, like I think there's somebody in here, and I can't remember her screen name off the top of my head right now, that earlier commented, I wouldn't be growing if it wasn't for Dark Star. New grower, first seeds, first run, the education that comes from those comments right there is what I live for. Earlier today, I had somebody send me a picture. It was a free pack of seeds. They're like 5, 6 weeks in the flower right now. I would not have had this garden, the whole garden. I would not have had this if it wasn't for you. Like those things are what I live for. Seeing and knowing people are surviving. There's people that are literally surviving and feeding their family that will come to me and say, I couldn't have did this if it wasn't for you. Um, that's it right there. I don't think there's any better feeling in the world than to know. First of all, somebody that never maybe thought about growing, that had joined in the lives, that you know is able to get the education and be like, okay, this is how I do it. Ask all these questions, and then 4, 5, 6 weeks, months later, they come back and they say, if it wasn't for you, I never would have grown this. I fucking love it. And now they're on their next harvest. So I think it's all about that the new grower, seeing what they do and the joy it brings them. I don't think there's anything close to that. So I think it's
Yeah,
like there's a couple levels there. Um, like her in the comments, I can't remember who it was. I wish I saw her comment again. But when I saw her comment that before, I live for that shit. There's nothing that makes
yeah.
me happier than that right there.
Yeah, that's it, and I can relate to that. Hearing people's stories, getting these emails, and then hearing how they've had an impact, right? And that's really, I mean, especially like some of the shows where you get to meet these folks in person. Um, we were in Oklahoma, I think, back in 2019,
There she is.
and a guy that approached us, he told this story, and he was like, "Hey, I broke my back, and I had, multiple surgeries, and I, having a really hard time walking, and he was really afraid of getting hooked on the pain medication. And he was like, really, the only thing that really touched my pain was Slurricane, and Slurricane at the time was extremely popular. It was I think it even came in first or second at that particular High Times Cup. But he goes, out of all the everything that I would every strain that I would grow and smoke, he's like, it would sort of get me there, but not all the way. But he's like, something about Slurricane just took the pain away for me and allowed me not to rely so much on pharmaceutics. And he's like, I just wanted to thank you guys for that. And so when you hear that, it's really hard to respond because you're not sure, right? That on how to do it, right? And to take it in, because it's such a big, huge thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, it's cool because even when I, like, me and my partner, have discussions about stuff, it's like, you're kind of, you're seeing this and you're just like, it's amazing, right? And that's what drives you to be the best that you possibly can be, do the things that you need to do, and just have it, and be humble and level, because you got this feedback that is keeping you humbled.
Y- y- Yeah. Okay. First of all, listen, we're at 1 hour right now. We are gonna come right back just so everybody knows. If it ends, it ends. But I just want to say one thing. To me, there was a point in time when I first started growing, right? And this is to you. I wouldn't grow anything but in-house, man. Like that was it. There was nothing that I went out of the way, because everything I fucking grew. I talk about the headlock. I can go back and talk about all that was it, man. Your gear, like, I don't know, man. It was just the next level. Like the work you guys put in. We never, we're gonna get into this a little bit. We're gonna let you guys ask questions when we come back. I believe you guys will be able to ask questions about some of the Slurricane, whatever you guys want to ask about actual in-house gear, because um, yeah, man, like you guys killed it. You guys changed the game, in my opinion. There was so many other brands out there, but in my opinion, I always had to have something in-house in the garden. And that's just like from a place of respect, because everything I ever grown out was just insane, man. Like I fell in love with so many of those plants from you guys. Um,
Well, also because we started off as growers, right? So we
yeah,
were we were growing. Well, we've always prided ourselves